Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we have another great card ahead of us, and I want to show you some uses for doilies in card making. So, of course, there is always lots of ways to go about this, and there are always lots of options, and I want to share a couple with you. So first of all, I have these doilies here. Now, these were from a cheap and cheerful shop. I have no idea how long ago I got them. I just love having these in my drawer. They are really fun to work with and lots of fun techniques. And these ones are they're made of paper, obviously. They're very thin and they do great for lots of different art activities. But we want to use them in some card making. And I also want to show you a few different options how you can change the look of them. They are obvious things, but it's always great to be refreshed that there's lots to do. So there's a whole pad of these that I have, and it used to be double this size, but it's good. It means I'm working my way through them. Now, remember, if you would like to change the look of these, you can absolutely color these. And a couple of my favorite ways to do this, I take a little bit of mint tape. Anything that I, need held in place or is a little bit delicate, putting them on some mint tape, which is just some low tack tape, and this is 4 inches wide. It's a great, if I were trying to do this without the mint tape, it's just going to get creased and folded because it's really delicate, really thin paper, which is fine. But here I am just going to take some tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink, and truly this took me, a minute, and we have a gorgeous baby blue, light blue doily ready to go. So remember that you can absolutely change the look of them. They can also be used as a bit of a stencil because that beautiful little pattern comes through really nicely on paper. I'll show you another option that you can do for coloring. This one is kind of a surprise. Now, I want to show you the surprise element because I'm just going to use some Distress Oxide sprays. I have a small handful. I think I have 5 of these. And I do end up, I bought just a couple to try out and see how I like them. I do really like them. I don't have the space to store a whole set, so that's why I got a few that worked nicely together. So this is the Saltwater Taffy and Mustard Seed Distress Oxide sprays. Now this is gorgeous. Look at the pattern that this left, so don't even get me started how pretty that is on the paper. But if I put this aside, let this dry, this is one I did earlier, and then look at this. This is the front that we sprayed, and then my favorite part is on the back you get this new version of it, and it is super bright. So that oxide residue is no longer there. So this reminds me of the normal distress inks, and of course so that the residue from the oxides is on the front, and then on the back you get this bright vivid version of whatever you sprayed. So a couple of fun ways to use those. Now the next one I have here, this is the Doodlebug. These are the mini doilies, and these are in the mint color, and I kind of fell in love with this color. Yes, I could have done the same thing that I did with the bigger ones, but these were little, and these are just another option that you can use if you don't want to color your own. Look at all the colors that come back there. There's a whole lot of these. I could have gotten lots, but actually I don't need lots, and I remind myself that having one of these in my stash means that I have a great options, but I'm not overwhelmed. Now this one here, you might have a die that is going to do the same thing. So this is the Princess Circle from Gina K, and this is, pretty much a doily in my opinion, and this is absolutely stunning. I love this cut of this die. So again, you might have a die. There are so many companies out there that do them, so many. This is just one of my favorites in particular, but as I said, lots and lots of beautiful doily dies out there. This one has a mixture that it sort of doesn't take me too long to get out all those little bits around the edge, because that can be one element that I don't love about doily dies, is that they take so long to get all those little bits clean and clear and perfect and beautiful. This one doesn't take me long at all, and that's why I have it. But nonetheless, if that's not for you, then you can use, these little pre-made ones too. Either. Always lots of options, as I say. You've always got usually one in your stash somewhere, or you'll just know which one, might work best for you in your craft space. Now, let's get on to making a card with these. And I actually have a couple of ideas. I'm going to focus more on one really easy, simple card that you can make with doilies today. And we are going to be using these as a beautiful background piece. Now, I should have added earlier on that actually, of course, you can get doily stamps as well. I don't think they are quite as versatile. I mean, certainly you can, stamp it and then fussy cut it out, or you might even have a die that coordinates with it. But yeah, that's a little bit different, but still nonetheless, there are some out there by some companies. Having these ready to go and not adding colour is just, an easy peasy step. I'm really enjoying it. I'm using my matte medium glue to stick these down, and I am going to cut off the edges so that I can reuse these. Of course, I want to make sure I get the most out of the products that I have to purchase, and so instead of just using a whole doily, I try and, make sure I can spread it and see if I can make the little bit that I cut off go a little bit further. And there is no rhyme or reason as to how I'm putting these on. I have cut down a much smaller card panel. I think I cut this down by about 3 3/4 by 5 or so inches. As I said, it doesn't really matter. We're just creating a background, and I'm using my matte medium glue to stick all these little pieces on. And you could use a little sponge, a makeup sponge, if you didn't want to use your fingers to spread the glue around. That would, dab it onto the backs really nicely. Then I give this a second to dry, not long enough, but the doilies are strong enough that they hold up quite well. They don't disintegrate with the wet glue, which is great. And then I just trim off the edges, and then I will put this aside to dry. Then next up, we want to create some focal points to pop on our background. And so I have got the Floral Elegance 6x6 paper pad. You've seen this one lots. I love this paper pad. I actually bought a couple of items from this collection, which is a little bit unusual. I really love the shimmery gold on each one of these papers. It is beautiful, but I am looking for something a little bit plain. So I'm thinking about this blue here. I really like the plain blue. So I'm looking for one of those pages that I can die cut into because we are creating a focal point. This one here is going to work pretty well for what I need. Okay, and then I was laughing when I was watching this back, after I had done all of the editing and things on this, because I was like, I had a plan here and I knew what my plan was, and I forgot the plan halfway through. So I am cutting this piece of blue cardstock down to be a matting layer for my background that I've just created. And then out of my background, I was going to do my die cutting. Well, do you think I remembered to do that? Because I was like, no one's going to see it. We may as well make the use out of those pieces. Well, I didn't do that. I took the spare piece that was from beside me, thinking, right, I've got my matting layer, now I've got this piece spare. Anyhow, this is the Plants and Vases die set from Altenew, and this is gorgeous. Now at this point, even though I was sure I was going to use the blue side of this, I actually ended up really liking the floral side here. So we don't have to make a choice immediately. So I end up actually die cutting out 2 of these. One of them, of course, I'm intending to do on the blue side, so I cut it out from that direction. And the other one, I quite like the floral. And so I wasn't sure at this point whether everything would sort of clash and there would be too many colors going on, or whether I would really like the plain blue. Now this is the Botanical Duo from Gina, and this is just a good size that pops inside those vases. And this is just a coincidence, obviously 2 different companies, but I think that this is going to work pretty well for what I need. It's really handy to have a look through your stash and see if you can even adjust something. Even if you have a larger image, it could be a stamp that you actually put behind this or a die cut, but you could just cut one of the branches off, or one of the, cut some of it away so that you have a smaller piece left that fits with the size of the vase or whatever. So go through your stash and have a look and see if there's something that you can adjust to make right. Now I must admit this actually works pretty well. I actually do end up cutting some of this off still because it's slightly too large, but pretty good in the scheme of things. Now I have a couple of different colors here: peeled paint, scattered straw, and squeezed lemonade, and I'm just using some little fine tip brushes here to do the coloring. I put it down on a little piece of mint tape that holds all of these little delicate pieces, and that means that I'm not accidentally bending all the little bits on that gorgeous die cut. Makes it super easy. Now I have some of the tumbled glass Distress Oxide spray, and I'm just going to actually take it out, the nozzle out, and just do some little splatters. I felt like the background was just a tiny bit plain, so I'm just going to add a little bit to it. And then of course I have my favorite gloss white from Dina Wakley, and it stays a nice bright white color. And in hindsight, I didn't super need this one because the doilies already have little white poking through it and there's white in between, but extra layers are great. Now, this is where, I was like, oh yeah, I was meant to die cut out of the middle of that, but anyhow, that's okay. And so I use this as my matting layer. It's going to be that nice matching blue. I've got all of my elements come together, and I've still got my 2 vases there because I wasn't sure, of course, which side I was going to go for. I'm using my matte medium glue, and this gives me a good second to adjust that panel and make sure it is perfectly in the center and that I've got an even border all the way around. And then really, this is just a matter of putting everything together. I'm going to keep this part relatively flat, so this is just the Pink and Main tear tape, the double-sided adhesive tape, and I'm going to pop this down onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. I do my little trick here with the tabs, and this just means I can get everything perfectly lined up before committing where the panel goes. So I have these little pieces exposed, and then in the middle where I press my thumb, press down when it's ready to go, and then pull out the tabs, and it's all nice and even. And then this is where I couldn't decide. So which one would you have gone for? Tell me. I do like this one. I think it goes absolutely fine. I think the colors are perfect. And then this plain one here, I kind of like the simplicity of this. It's a bit more clean and simple. So I honestly could have happily have chosen either one of these. I didn't mind. But go on, I will live life on the edge and we'll go for the colourful one today. So I am going to pop this up on some 1mm foam tape, so just like a little bit of lift. And at this point, I thought that's all I needed because the card has, no more dimension than this. And then when I put this down here, I thought actually maybe it could do with a little more because, we don't have any other foam tape anywhere. And I quite like the idea that the vase is a little lifted a little higher. So after putting everything together and trimming off some of that foliage, remember I said that you need to just trim your dies, make them work for you. You have invested your hard-earned money in them, and so it's a great idea to just, make them work. Snip them, change them, stamps, dies, it doesn't matter. We are there to get the best value out of the supplies that we choose to invest in. And then I put the second layer of foam tape there, and then I'm just going to have this little vase sitting off to the side. I think that's quite nice. It absolutely could have been centered too, but I like it off to the side a little bit as well. And then I wanted just a little sentiment that wasn't going to take over things too much. So this is from the black and white sentiment set from Paper Rose, and so this just says Happy Cake Day. Nice, easy, and simple sentiment. So I hope that you enjoyed this one today. As I said, I do have some more coming with doilies because I've been really enjoying using them. And as I said, I purchased the pack from Doodlebug of those little ones, and it kind of inspired me with lots of new ideas. So if you were inspired by this, then we would love to see your makes. I would love to see your creations. So on Facebook, we are Come Crafting with Natasha, and you can find me over there and tag me to make sure I see your creations. And if you enjoyed this video, then I do have a website where I have card making classes and I have a card making series. There are free resources over there with printable sentiments and things. So that is just natashafootecreative.com. But other than that, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.